Well, good morning to all of you. I'm excited to be here. As he said, this is kind of, when this group first started and I came to the first meeting, this is kind of what I envisioned it being, me talking to all of you. No, I'm just kidding. But us being able to get up and talk to each other about the things that work and that don't work and, be able to help each other as a community. So that's kind of what I put together. The first part of this is going to be kind of a presentation. There's not going to be a lot of facts and figures or anything like that. It's more just going to be some tips and tools that you can use. And then the second half is going to be me actually giving you the behind-the-scenes look at our actual Facebook page and showing you kind of some of these things that I discussed. And then at the end, we'll have some time for questions. And of course, anytime throughout, feel free to raise your hand, yell out at me, I don't care, ask questions, anything that might be confusing or a question you've had that you want answered and it seems like the right time, that's fine. The more questions you ask, the more we can fill the time. This can go really short, it can go all the way to the full hour. I'm happy to go for the hour. Let's get some information going. All right. So, the name of the presentation is Mastering the Art and Science of Facebook. And I called it a tutorial. So, the reason I named it this is because Facebook is kind of that enigma that we all know really well, but all of us know very little about it. At least we feel like we do at times. So the idea behind this is that as Facebook continuously evolves, you have to look at it as a science. It's something you can study, you can learn from, and you can refine how you use it. But it's also an art in the sense that it's kind of abstract. There is no exact science for how to use it, even though there's a science that you can use to understand it. So, as we dive into this, I want you to know a little bit about how I got to know Facebook. I'm actually from Brownsburg, Indiana. It's west of Indianapolis. And I can distinctly remember when I was born in 1991, I know, not that long ago, I came into a family that had a computer. As long as I can remember, we had a computer. I remember in kindergarten, I was playing games on the computer. So we were kind of one of the first adopters, so to speak, of computers. And I've always been in that, in that digital realm, so to speak. And I don't know, does anyone in here remember MS-DOS? Yeah. That's where it all started. So we went from that to Facebook. It's quite a change. And then MySpace. Who in here remembers or ever used MySpace? That's a thing of the past, too. It does still exist, but as far as I can tell, they're kind of waning and won't be around much longer. But anyway, so after I got through elementary school and got past the playing games on computers, I went to high school. And in our senior year, they actually gave us all laptops. And what we did during study hall was get on Facebook. So that was where I learned most of my Facebook tools and trips was actually in high school. And then as I went to Ball State University, I actually started using that more for helping out the friends, other business contacts, manage their page, and kind of get the best out of it. So from there, I don't know if all of you got a chance to read the bio, but I actually did not. I discontinued my education and didn't go for the degree. I'm going back, I promise. But
we can help you with that.
Okay, all right. That was a good plug. I like it.
Make sure to get that in.
I'll talk to you afterwards. But anyway, so I discontinued that to start my business, the engraving business. So that started as Etch a Thing, and then July of last year combined Standout Creations here in Anderson with another company. So for the better part of 3 years, I've been actively using Facebook for my business and trying to get the best out of it. So that's where I feel like my competency comes in, is that every day I have to get on there and figure out how to make Facebook work for me. Do I feel like I know everything about it? No. But I know enough about it to make it work for my business and to pass information on to you guys that hopefully you can utilize in your businesses. So you're saying, okay, Logan, is Facebook really that important? Well, the answer is a definite yes, it is. I know it seems like it's more of a personal tool, a thing, it really started out that way. It was just a personal social profile. And then as they evolved, they brought the business aspect into it. And so for some people, it might be hard to actually see the business value in Facebook. But I'm saying yes, it is very important. So the next question, obviously, is why is it important? Well, I believe it's important because it's the only place where you can learn about your customers, you can interact with your customers, you can engage with your customers, and you can market to your ideal customer all in a single place for free. Now, I do have a caveat there. It's kind of hard to see on the screen, but there is an asterisk next to free. Facebook is a free platform, but there's also, of course, ways you can pay for ads and things like that to promote things. I'm not going to be talking much about that today, but here, I believe in October, Element 212 will have Alex Byers in to really talk very specifically about ads and how you can use the paid elements of Facebook to improve your business. So yeah, if you can't see already that this is, it's a very, very targeted way to work with your customers one-on-one and all at once in the same place. So let's get started. So the first thing that I have to recommend to anyone that's wanting to use Facebook is determine your objective. It's like anything else in business or in life, you have to figure out, well, if I'm going to start putting my most valuable resource, which is time, into this, you have to determine what is your objective. What are you trying to achieve with your Facebook account? And every time that you go further in, every level that I talk in this presentation, you can always ask that question, what's my objective here? But the best starting point is, what is my objective with using Facebook for business? Again, a lot of people, there's a disconnect between the personal and the business use of it. They're very much interconnected, but you have to be able to separate out every action that you take on the business side of it and figure out how that's going to translate to essentially dollars for your business, even if it's not a direct translation. So the thing you have to ask yourself in your line of business, because I can't say that what I do on my Facebook page is going to work for any of yours, because you all have different companies. So you have to ask yourself, is my company based on visual elements? Are pictures going to sell my business? Is my business based on textual elements? Is telling a story going to sell my business? Or is it based on something else? So first, determine your objective. What are you trying to do? Get more people to know about you, get them to buy things from you online, stop into your store. Once you've got that, you're going to be a lot more focused on how to actually use Facebook. So moving on, we're going to talk about basically the 4 essential tools that I see as critical for you to use and that everyone can use no matter what your business is. So the first one, this is one that I find extremely valuable. It's scheduled posts. So if you go back to the idea of determining your objective, ideally, already in your business, you've got kind of a plan, a business plan, a strategy for how you're going to do things, a timeline for when you're going to do them. So by using scheduled posts in Facebook, this actually gives you the opportunity to not think in the now, like, oh, I need to post something and put it up now, but you can start laying out a plan for, well, what do I want to achieve this month? So going back to the objective, what's my objective this month? I want 10 new customers. I want 20 new likes. Now that brings me to a whole nother thing. A lot of times people think that likes translate to customers, that translates to dollars. And most of the time, yes, and especially if you have your objective determined. But you need to know the difference between a like and a prospect, essentially. Just because someone likes your page doesn't mean they're going to spend money with you. So the scheduled posts, we'll zoom in on a little picture here. This is, again, a cut from our actual Facebook page. Right there where it says publish, once you've started typing or adding photos or creating an event, if you click on that little arrow next to publish and go down, you've got 3 different options actually. So the scheduled post allows you to say, okay, I don't want this to go out until maybe next Tuesday, and I want it to come up at 10 a.m., whatever the case may be. So that's extremely valuable in laying out how you're going to spend your time utilizing Facebook. And I think where most people get caught up is that they look at Facebook and they don't determine, well, how much time am I going to spend updating Facebook? And then you just get sucked into the time trap. You're just sitting there, you're scrolling through things, and then you get distracted, and then 20 minutes later, you don't even remember why you were on Facebook in the first place. So this is kind of to help prevent that. So my suggestion is that before you just go and start posting things, maybe designate a time at the end of the month going into the next month or the beginning of that new month to sit down and think, what are my objectives? What do I want to post about? And then actually lay out a schedule. And you don't have to have everything. You don't have to have the whole month set out. But at least, even if you decide during a given week, I don't have the time to put into Facebook, you've still got things showing up, showing that you're active there. I won't talk much about these other two, but you can backdate a post. If you need something to show up as if you posted it a few days ago or something like that, you can backdate it, and you can save drafts. Another valuable tool, because if you don't want something posted or you've just got an idea in your head, you can go and put in a draft and come back to it later. So, again, I've kind of really touched on this. The value of this is that it's intentional planning. It's taking the time to decide how you're going to achieve your objectives. And you can look at it in terms of hours, days, weeks, or months. So then also it's efficiency. You're not wasting, well, I say it's cautiously, you're not wasting endless hours on Facebook. You're actually coming up with an actionable plan. You've got well thought out copy for your statuses because you've taken the time ahead of time to figure out what you want to say and how you want to say it. And then you can conquer Facebook in manageable, finite tasks, not this ongoing, every day I'm going to get on Facebook and put something. You can take time, sit down, and do it. So are there any questions at this point? Nope. Who feels like they end up spending a lot of time on Facebook that they shouldn't? Me too. So it's one of those things where it's still a work in progress for me. But we do take the time, and I'll show you a little bit later, to schedule posts and kind of look at things going forward. So next is visual content. So Facebook is completely rooted in visual content. That's where it started. That's kind of the namesake. It's Facebook. It's all about the face of things. So I don't know if who here watched, what was it, The Social Network, about how Facebook started? Okay. So those of you that saw that know that it actually started as kind of a dating profile sort of thing. So it is all about visuals. It started just with photographs. So it's important that you use visuals. And you can use them with a mix of text, but visuals are going to sell what you're doing even if you don't feel like your business is a visual business. So, photos. As we all know, we've heard the phrase, a picture tells 1,000 words. And it really does. This is a little bit cut off over here, but this is a picture that we posted just recently of a sign that we made. And most of you can probably tell almost immediately. It's a sign. It's going in a museum. It tells you where to go. So you already, in just a split second, you've got an idea of what we do, or at least a portion of what we do. It's quick absorption. People are scrolling through Facebook on their phones, on their computers. You need to be able to spark their attention as fast as the flick of a hand. You need to get their attention, and that's what you can do. It's quick to absorb a photo. There's minimal technical issues. I'll talk on the next slide, I believe, about videos. Sometimes you have issues with videos, the length, the quality. This just has minimal technical issues. You take a photo, put it on Facebook. And it has maximum shareability. It's easy to share a photo. So then there's videos. And I'll show you a little bit later. The GIF didn't actually work in this. But this was just a little GIF video of a cool little contraption we had made for New Corner Brewery. And the idea of it is that it captures the interest of your loyal fans. So this is to be separated from photos. For someone to intentionally click on your video and watch it, they have to be pretty interested in what you're doing. Or even if they're not beforehand, you have to have a really compelling thumbnail, that beginning image that they see on the video. You create that personal touch. I think I mentioned this a few meetings ago, and we actually did end up doing it. I actually recorded kind of a profile video of me, basically like I'm talking to you as the customer, and put it right at the top on Facebook to kind of introduce people. So it's the equivalent of walking into a brick and mortar store and getting to meet and greet whoever's standing at the desk. So this gives you that personal touch. It's very dynamic because you've got audio and visual, so you're capturing more of their senses that way. You can stand out above your competitors that way. And you gain more insights. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. When I say insights, though, I'm curious. Who knows, in relation to Facebook, what I'm talking about when I say insights? Very specific term. OK, perfect. I'm glad that not a lot of you do, because that's one of the biggest things that I want you to pull out of this presentation is insights. And then there's links. OK, so the nice thing about links is if you take a web address and you copy and paste it in your status bar on Facebook, it'll automatically generate a link, which automatically gives you a picture and basically more visual space. And it's more real estate on Facebook when you have that link. But it gives you the opportunity to put in your own text and a link, which now you've got them acting on something. You want your customers to go somewhere, give them a link. And they're gonna see it, ideally click on it. And the best thing about that is that you've taken them off of Facebook's platform and put them on your own. And there's nothing more valuable than a customer that's in your own funnel. So again, the call to action on that is what's critical. If you put a link and you don't tell them what to do with it or to click on it, you may not actually get them to click on your link. So this is just a close-up of that. This was actually a grant that we had applied for that required votes. So the cool thing about when you do links is that when you first put it in there, you can actually change this image to whatever you want. So it gives you the option to have the text, the clickable link, and photos in it. So it's a very versatile tool. Social tags. Okay, this is something that I think businesses don't use hardly at all. And it's a very valuable tool that allows you to get touch points with all of your customers. So in the same way that Twitter, you can use the @ symbol to link to somebody else, essentially, or to grab their attention, you can do the same thing on Facebook. So you can use @ and the business's name, and as you're typing that, you'll see a list of businesses come down, and the further you type, the more refined your search will get. So then when you see the business that you're trying to tag, you click on it, and boom, now it's a link to their page too, but you've caught their attention because now they have something, a notification that pops up and says, Standout Creations just tagged you in a link, and then ideally some of their customers will see that we're interacting with each other. So you can capitalize on other fans. You can get a potential endorsement, which we've gotten from other businesses. We say, hey, great job on this, and they come back and say, hey, thank you, you've got great work. And now you're building a network between businesses and their fans. And it just shows support. I know that we're in a capitalistic economy, and we like to be competitors, and it's kind of fun to be competitive, but at the same time, part of that, in my opinion, is being supportive of other businesses too, even some of your competitors. And I know that can get to be kind of a hairy line for people, but I like to support other businesses, even some that are in the same industry as us. And then @ personal name. And this is one that it's been changing recently, so we'll explore this once I pull up Facebook. But you can actually grab somebody's personal profile and tag them in a post that you've put on your page. So the benefit of this is you're getting very direct engagement. You're grabbing someone and saying, hey, I like what you did, or hey, thank you for your business. And that's something that's going to basically solicit a response from them. And then now you're coming up in their news feed if they're responding to your posts. You can build rapport with your customers. You can circumvent like anonymity, which what that is on business pages, when somebody likes you, when they first do it, you can actually see who liked you for about a week. After a week, that disappears, and you no longer have access to who actually likes your page anymore. As far as why Facebook did that, because it didn't used to be that way, I'm not Facebook, I can't speak for them, but my best guess is that because in their guidelines, they've always had things like you can't use likes for contests. You can't say if you like us, then you're entered in a contest. And that's always been part of their rules. So part of stopping that is not allowing you to even see who likes your page. So this kind of circumvents that. You can start drawing in people and interacting with them without actually knowing whether they even like your page or not, but ideally you can get a like out of it. You can encourage comments by tagging personal accounts and show your gratitude. Thank customers. Thank them for doing business with you and for supporting you. That's a very big thing coming back around, is making sure that they understand how appreciated they are. And then we are to the insights. So I asked earlier who knows what insights are. Now, has everyone heard of analytics? Analytics? Okay. So insights is basically the equivalent to Google Analytics. But I kind of like that word a little bit better because it gives you insights onto what your customers are doing, how they're acting, how they're responding to your things. So I call it the lifeblood of social media, or social marketing rather. Because if you're going to use Facebook or any of the platforms really, Twitter, any of the tools that offer you insights or analytics, you have to know how your customers are interacting with what you're posting, or you're kind of shooting in the dark. So this is highly detailed interaction data. You know what they're doing, how they're doing it, for how long they're doing it, and where they go when they're done. It's quantifiable and measurable. You've got numbers. You can measure it. So this helps, again, determine your objectives. Start using numbers. Start looking at ways to decide how you want to achieve your goals by using, numbers of likes, numbers of comments. And on that point, I actually, and this was something that was shared with me from Todd at Element 212, he shared with me kind of the value of likes, comments, and shares, which are kind of the three big things. I mean, those are really the three actions you can take on Facebook. You can like, comment, or share something. So how many of you think that of the three, we're going to rank them 1, 2, and 3, 1 being the most important, 3 being the least. How many of you think that the most important thing is a like? Okay. How many of you think that it is a comment? And how many of you think that it is a share? Okay. I was with the rest of you. I thought it was a share, but Todd shared with me it's actually comments, and that's something that they have changed recently in their algorithm. And I kind of went to explore that a little bit, and it's still something that I won't say it's in its infancy, but it's a somewhat recent change. So the idea is, when you post something on Facebook, now they've got your content and they're saying, okay, how are we going to disperse this to all of their friends? Because if they were to take everything that every person said and put it on all their friends' timelines, you would never get valuable information that you want to see on your news feed. And have you ever noticed that your news feed is actually somewhat relevant to what you're wanting to see? And if it's not, you can say, I don't want to see this anymore. And then all of a sudden, you've just cleaned out your news feed and it gets more relevant. So Facebook has to decide, if we're going to keep our users interested, we have to know how important what you're posting is and who to share it with. So Insights is a great way to look at how people are interacting with your posts and to keep it relevant to them. So we'll go ahead and take a look at Facebook. Like I said, this is kind of the secret part, because you actually get to look at the background and see data that I probably don't want you to see about our page. But that's all right. For the sake of the community, I'm happy to do it. Okay. I have to roll this a little bit closer. Actually, I guess I could just look at the screen. All right. So I'm already logged into our business page. And the first thing I'll talk about and show you is the scheduled posts. So if we go down, I'll actually show you this. I scheduled this, it's like 11 o'clock last night. And it's actually the presentation that I'm giving you today. So what I did is I said, well, I want something to show up, and I want it to show up at, 2 hours ago, 6:30 in the morning, but I don't want to have to do it. Or sometimes I don't want to be awake. So I did that, and it automatically posted it at exactly the time I said. And the benefit is that you can start getting people liking and clicking on your content before you would have the time to sit down and actually post that content yourself. So, walking you through the steps, if you go to the top and you want to start a new status, it's really simple. Great meeting today at Anderson. Now, I'll show you a couple things here. As soon as I start typing the name, and you don't even need the @ symbol in this case, it pops up. So now I can go on there and tag it. And you can see it's got that blue highlighted behind it. So that tells you anything that's actually tagged or linked.
You can also tag the library in the same photo.
That's a really good point. At Anderson. Okay. So if your business page already likes the business you're trying to tag, that's where, when you're just typing it in, it'll pull it up. If you don't like it, you have to type in the @ symbol, and it'll start searching businesses that you don't already like. There we go. Anderson Public Library.
You turn the second one.
Oh,
Just tag the one in South Carolina, I think.
well, I can give them some extra link juice too. All right.
It's hard making fun of everybody doing this.
It is.
My students do not appreciate that.
This one. There we go. So,
Be sure to go to that page and like it all at once.
what's that?
Be sure to go to their page and like it instead of
Yeah, I will do that.
comment.
So once you're ready to go with it, you click on the scheduled posts and it brings up that box. So for me, again, this is where you can break things down to the hours. I know that our meeting's going to be over at approximately 10-ish. As long as you guys ask me more questions because I'm going pretty fast. So I'm going to put 10 a.m. And that way, when I'm wrapping up, closing up my stuff, Facebook's already posting for me. Yeah, go ahead.
kind of going back, but
Yeah, that's fine.
I have a personal Facebook page. So
Okay.
I'm going to create a page. Is that
A-
how it starts?
A business page?
It says you want to create a page, and then you identify it as a business?
Yes.
Because
When-
I'm kind of wondering how you get the whole thing started, since this is set up a lot different than
Yes. What you'll have to do is in the login screen, well, there's two different ways you can do this. If you don't have a Facebook account, you go in and create one first. And I haven't done that in so long because that was back in 2007 when I created mine.
yeah.
At this point, I don't know if at the initial login screen they give you the option of business or not.
I've had mine for a long time. So
Okay.
I know you can.
Yeah,
create
sure.
a page.
Let me schedule this and I'll show you. So you schedule the post and now it'll show up in your queue. So this is the nice thing. You've always got the queue. If there's any pending scheduled posts, it's always showing up there to you as the business owner. It doesn't show to the customers or your likers. So, and you can always go back and edit or look at or delete any of your posts that are scheduled by clicking on See Post. So there you go. And sometimes it takes a minute to update because that one I just posted should be in there. But these are some through September 3rd that I've got set up. And here's a really good reason why I do this. Again, it may not apply to your business, but the middle one, that ribbon cutting, okay, well, that's a ribbon cutting that's happening on the day before, well, I think it's the day before September 1st. So I don't want this to show up before the ribbon cutting. The bottom one is an award that the person hasn't gotten yet. So I don't want to have to think about it that day, but I do still want it to go up on Facebook. So that's how I achieve that. And then the top one, I just haven't given it to Debbie yet. So going back to your question about the pages, let's see if I can navigate to this quickly. On your personal profile, if you go over to, and I'm sorry that I'm on the personal now, but if you go over here to pages, you can actually click on create a page. Yep. And that's the simplest way I know how to do it. So if you go in there, now you've got all these different types of pages. And again, this is your objective. What is your objective? For the most part, I think the majority of you in here would probably pick a local business or place. But companies, organizations, institutions, I don't know about SCORE, but I'm thinking yours could probably be set up that way. And as far as the actual page itself, there's not a whole lot of difference between all these. There are some nuances, but to the average user, they're not going to go, oh, that's an organization. Oh, that's a local business. But it's the tools that they provide to you that make these the most, give you the differences between these. But Facebook's come a long way in this. They've allowed you to really look at your page and, again, objectify what you're trying to do with it. And all of your pages show up over here under Pages. And you can see those are some of them that I've managed over time. But I'm going to go back to Standout Creations. So, we talked about the scheduling, and that's pretty straightforward. I'll go ahead and go back to this and show you that any of your drafts, so things that you haven't actually fully scheduled or you're just typing it but you don't have it set up to show up yet, that all shows up under the drafts. And we don't have any right now, but you can always create a draft, and that allows you to, if you have an idea of something you might want to post but you don't know how you want to word it, you don't know what pictures you're going to put, you're not ready, you can put it in a draft. And this is one I've never used, and frankly, I don't see the point, but someone might be able to elaborate on this. Expiring posts. Again, I read up a little bit about it, and it's kind of an emulation of Snapchat. Any of you know, or I guess if you've heard of Snapchat or know what it is, raise your hand. Okay. So actually, the vast majority of you do. So they want to create that ephemeral side of Facebook where you can create something that goes away. And I think that in this day and age, with security being a big thing and people, I personally am not as concerned with the idea of my, something that I post. I pretty much assume that it's going to be on some server somewhere for the rest of forever. But some people, I think they're getting a false sense of security that it's actually going away, but this is the idea of posting something that's no longer visible after a certain period of time. If you actually go up to the search bar, and this is a perfect time. I told you that GIF in my presentation wasn't working and that I would come to it on Facebook. It's way down in the news feed. So I can either scroll forever or I can type post about New Corner Brewing tap handle. Now I've told it I want it to be posts that it is searching. So this isn't the most exact way because that's not my page, but it's looking for the tags that you've put in there. Now, right there is exactly the post I was looking for, and that's actually my business partner's post that he shared, but that would have taken a minute or two of scrolling through my page to get to, but I was able to actually do it through a refined search. I don't know if Facebook calls it this, but in Google you can do similar things, but with a lot more context, Boolean searches. So you're telling it, I want to stay within these parameters, so I want it to be a post, and I want it to have these words. I want it to be about these things. And so that's a way, again, it's not the most specific because I don't know, and Todd, you might be able to speak to this or someone that knows even more about Facebook, but I have not found a way yet where I can tell it, stay on my page and look through these things. I know there used to be at one point a search bar because I had used it before, but anymore, it's not something, they change things on me all the time. So that's the problem with Facebook is an expert can come up and if they changed something last night, it's not the same anymore. And they really like doing that. Okay, so what's that? Yeah, it will. So this is, if you're familiar, GIF is actually what, graphical interface something. Surely you know. What's GIF?
Oh, yeah, in my class, I'm making graphics interchange.
There you go. Graphic interchange format. Perfect. So I just call it GIF. I've always called it GIF. So on Facebook, I actually had to use an app that would turn it into a video of sorts. But you've all seen GIFs before. But this was a cool feature. There we go. I was wanting to show people this, a New Corner came to me and said, hey, I want to be able to change out the type of beer on the handle. So we just created a little magnetic thing and did that. So again, in 3 seconds, I just showed a customer everything I needed to tell them about this. So that's going back to the videos and how valuable they are. And the one thing, going back to the likes, comments, and shares, the one thing that I would say that most people don't take advantage of, and you don't want to be too solicitorial about this, don't know if that's a word, but you don't want to solicitate too hardly for these things, but you can always say, hey, tell us more about it. Do you like this? Post a picture and ask them, what do you think? Post a picture and say, hey, tell us what we could have done better. Tell us what what you would use this for. That's one of the most valuable things about Facebook is you can get so much information And it's all at your disposal. So I'll go ahead and go back to our page. Let's see. And here shortly, I will dive into the insights. And I'll probably be able to spend a lot of time in the insights because that's where the most information is. That's where you can learn the most about your page and your business. So, let me see here. And I'm sure you've all heard kind of the rules of thumb about Facebook as far as your posting. And I know we've heard that in another presentation here. 20% your content, 80% others has been one of the things that's been thrown out. I've heard it before. I don't personally endorse that because to me it goes back to your business and what you're trying to achieve. Because a lot of times it's hard to find things that are extremely relevant that you can post 80% of, you can make 80% of your posts about. But I would still say you need to be able to, just like I was saying with posting other businesses, interact with other businesses, get them involved, show that you're supporting them, interact, share with your fans ideas that you would think they would find interesting. Because it doesn't have to be immediately relevant to your business. It can be something, something that is a general interest type of content that just people would find interesting. Of course, it's up to you to decide what's appropriate for your business. There's some things that may be too controversial. I'm not necessarily saying go to that, although it might generate a lot of buzz, but I don't know that I would suggest it. And another thing that goes along with tags and comments are the reviews. So I think this is probably one of the very valuable things that you can solicit, and I would almost say you could do it very pointedly at your customers, not on Facebook and not in an aggressive way, but if you have a happy customer that walked away and they were saying good things about you, just ask them to say it on Facebook. Ask them to say it on Google. By all means, if you think it's appropriate and it's something where someone came in and commented on one of your photos, something that you did for them maybe. Oh, look, Anderson Public Library likes us. Thanks. I'll go in and like them here. Oh, it just went away. No, it didn't. Yeah, I thought I had too, but it's, well, I don't know where it went. There we go. You're liked by us. See? That's mutual support. So back to our page. The reviews are something that it builds that confidence in your potential prospects and customers of knowing that if they come to you, you've already got validation from, or they've got validation rather, to come to you from these other sources. The thing with reviews anywhere on the internet that makes them tough is that generally most sites, Google, Facebook, any of them that have this reviewing feature, they put it there for an unbiased perspective. So especially on here, you're not allowed to go and just delete a bad review. So it's important to keep your customers happy, but again, to solicit the good reviews, because we all know that bad news spreads really fast, and that people are a lot more tempted to get up and say something bad if they had a displeasurable experience. So you have to fight on the other end of that to get the good reviews. And I say fight, it's really not a fight at all. Every single person we've asked has been more than happy to write a review. And it's not like we're saying, hey, say something good about us that you don't really know. It's all customers who sent us an email and said how happy they were with the product. We're like, thank you so much. Would you mind writing us a review? That's very valuable for that fact, and it takes up real estate on your page. As people are scrolling through your page, it's coming across whether they were looking for reviews or not. And when they're actually searching for your business, if they haven't liked you yet, a box pops up that says at the bottom what your star rating is. So Facebook kind of pushes that to get people to know what others think about your business in that regard. So, and one way that you can actually search through your reviews and look at more of them, of course you can, when you scroll down, just about anything on the Facebook page is like this. If there's a box or something designated for that, there's usually an arrow or something you can click to expand it. So, reviews, you can click on that arrow, and it brings it up like a news feed. You can go down and look at all your reviews in chronological order. And then over here,
Do you recommend responding to reviews?
absolutely. That's one of the biggest things to me, is that if someone stepped out to say something about you, say something back. Because you're not only showing, again, that you're listening, but you're showing to Facebook that you're commenting. So it goes back to the comments. That's what's going to spread the word faster as far as Facebook's concerned. Because they have some algorithm that determines how they're going to sort out your posts and send them out. So my assumption is, and it is purely an assumption because I don't know everything that Facebook does, that if you're commenting on reviews or other comments, that you're more likely to show up to that person's friends, even if they don't like you, like your business yet, even if they don't like you. Yes?
Okay, I decided to start a business. I got this business. I set up my Facebook page. How do I get people to follow that?
You pay them all. No, I'm just kidding. It's a tough one, and I always say that because you have to look at your business. So I can't speak specifically for your business, but I know that in general, talk to people that you already work with, that are already your customers, and say, hey, would you like us on Facebook?
Okay, so say I'm going to open a tax shop and 50% of my friends are horse people.
Sure.
How would I notify these people? I was setting up-
Oh, you're talking, yeah, sure. Okay. And Facebook's really good about this. The only thing is, again, it always moves and changes on me. Aha, there it is. So, that's all you have to do is click invite friends.
start inviting them.
Yeah, and it's as simple as a click. You click invite, boom, it's done. And the one thing that they don't, rightfully so, I guess, they don't allow you to do is select all and invite them all at once, which I think everyone wishes you could do that. But I have gone through my entire friends list and hit invite on every single one of them. So, and these people, even my cousin doesn't like us yet. I'm going to have to get on him about that. But the cool thing about this is that Facebook's really good at determining relevancy. So the friends that show up at the top, as you scroll down, they get less and less relevant. The ones at the top are the ones that you interact with the most. So they're also the ones that are most likely to go ahead and like you. Even if they don't care about your business, just because you asked them to like, they'll like it. But that goes back to my original point. A like doesn't necessarily translate to a valuable customer. But even if it's someone that has no intention of ever buying from you, A, they might someday, and B, they've got friends. And if you're encouraging them to share what you're doing with their friends through videos, posts, statuses, asking them to share it with a comment, then you're capitalizing on their friends list. Yes?
Get back to the thing there for a second.
Sure.
What do you do to get back to you?
You comment on it first and foremost, and you be very professional about it. Hey, I'm sorry we couldn't live up to your expectations. Is there anything we can do to make it right? And you hope that they're going to comment on it and say, absolutely, there is. Or they private message you. And I have seen instances where it's gotten really, really ugly on Facebook reviews. There's actually a business in our industry that I was astonished, but she was making very, very negative, racist remarks. And she was doing it off of Facebook, but 3 people on exactly the same day came on this business's page and said, everything that had been said. And, you know, that's an issue far beyond Facebook. That's the business owner's issue. But still, there's likely to be things that come up that if it has nothing to do with something as controversial as that, it's an issue where, you know, a customer got a product that was poorly put together, poorly made, whatever the case may be. And so you need to go back and rectify that, and ideally publicly, as long as you're being professional about it, and as long as they are too. Because if they're not, don't continue that conversation. Do it through private messages. And if it's not going anywhere, you know there's just a point where you kind of have to give up. If you've done all that you can, don't keep stirring the fire for the sake of stirring it. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, I would comment to a negative review trying to rectify that. Were you going to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, this is what, from a public relations perspective, the first thing I do is tell clients to take it offline. End it positively and say, personal message me with whatever. So that way the last thing they see is your positive response, and you take care of everything else off.
Exactly. And that's perfect, because I see people who, they comment, and I think to me the worst one is, sorry we couldn't do that, but you know, you were too demanding in this.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a corrective action and then quiet. Unless, again, I think it's okay if it can happen in 4 messages or less to show that it was resolved. The customer puts a comment, oh, okay, we'd be happy to come in and get that remade.
And then what I like to tell them too is then to go back after you've resolved it and ask that person to comment back with that, or you can say how you resolved that. So.
And on Facebook, I believe,
work with so-and-so about this. Yeah.
Absolutely. And on Facebook, I believe they can go back and change their review. I know they can delete it. So if you've made the situation better and you know that you're on good terms with that customer, ask them if they wouldn't mind, you know, upping the star status. Don't make it a hard sell. I mean, if they don't want to, they don't want to, because they had the experience in the first place. But I think it's important to do what you can from your perspective, because this is your domain. It's Facebook's domain, but it's your domain, and you need to try and keep it as pristine, so to speak, as you can. This is, again, this goes outside of Facebook, but as a business, it's kind of that customer is always right mentality. Don't go out guns blazing saying, well, or, you know, we did all we could. You know, just be sorry about it, but be genuine, and, you know, like I said, don't stir the fire. Just do what you can to rectify the situation. This bugs me more than anything. You didn't tell me anything about why I got a 1-star review. I agree. I still don't like it on my reviews. If it's a 1-star review with a huge comment on it, customers are likely to want to know that. So they are very good with that. The one thing, and a business that I can think about in Muncie that's really good at the same thing is the Caffeinery, the coffee shop there. Man, they are lickety-split. They're always there with a comment, and it's always, sorry we didn't live up to your expectations, have a free cup of coffee on us. I mean, and it's their standard response, but they'll go above and beyond if there's, you know, a reason why. But they also respond to these, because that's another way to kind of negate that 1-star with no comment on it, is you're saying, hey, we're really sorry, we'd like to make it right. And then if the customers see, well, they didn't respond, no activity there, it's not really a big issue. Anytime you create a post, with the exception of, which it doesn't matter, it's not a post. Anytime you make a post, you can go back and edit it. And I'll show you where and why that is there. So even this one says edited, and this is an important thing. And I don't know why Facebook does it this way. But that little arrow to the right up here, you can go back and edit post. So you can go back and change the text of the post. But yeah, after you've posted it. And if you click on edited, that actually shows you all the editing that they did, a timeline of every change they made to it. I hope that you guys learned something, and since we had kind of a Q&A the whole time, I'm assuming there's not a whole lot of questions. If there are, I can get them real quickly. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciated being able to be here and talk with you and share what I know, and hopefully some of you guys will step up and do the same.